My name is Al. I am going to be vlogging my progress to an elite total pretty much for a long time. You might as well subscribe to me now because I'm going to be everywhere. Even more annoying than Mike Chang's ads. So let me go ahead and start off with the training tip of the day. This one is for anyone that has shoulder problems. I've had a couple, actually I've been blessed not to have too much shoulder problems. I've been training for a good 7 years now. I started off with being 100 pounds and now I worked my way up to 200. Then I cut back down to around 180 or 185 or so just because I started to notice a little punch. And so this is for anyone who has shoulder problems. I'm very diligent with doing all my prehab exercises just because of my background. I work with a lot of physical therapists. I'm a physical therapy aide. Yeah, so like I said, I'm very diligent about trying to make sure that I don't get hurt. So I'm doing all these, every meathead worth their weight in iron knows about the external rotators. The side-lying one with a dumbbell that goes pretty much like this. If you're not doing that, then and you're doing a bunch of bench pressing, you'll definitely see us in physical therapy. But like I said, I'm very diligent about doing that. Y pulls, face pulls, WYT. But sorry, excuse me, I'm a little sick. But the thing is, I started having shoulder problems, and I asked a couple of my co-workers, my fellow physical therapy friends, that what's going on, and they basically, a couple of them said that it might be due to my lack of coordination. Even though I'm relatively strong, because I try to go with what Charles Poliquin says. Charles Poliquin says, that if you're bench pressing around 315, you should be able to external rotate a dumbbell for a 25-pound dumbbell for a couple reps there. If you can't, then you definitely have some imbalances, and that's definitely gonna mess you up. You won't have that stable base to trying to shoot a cannon out of a canoe. So I'll show you the one exercise that helps me out, that I've been doing and starts to progress. I'll also show you a little bit of progressions here. So the first one that I do, or was doing, is the ball catch. So you're gonna be on your side, just like this, and what happens, it's almost like an external rotator rotating exercise. So you just go drop the ball, catch it, and make sure your shoulder is down and back. The reason why that's such an effective exercise for me is just because it wasn't a strength issue, it was a coordination issue. At least that's what the therapist said. You definitely want to make sure that you're able to do this, consult your doctor, but it shouldn't be a big deal. I mean, us meatheads been kind of analyzing ourselves for a little bit, even without professional help. So so hopefully that will help out with your shoulder pain, just because if you were just like me, it's a coordination issue. If you're definitely diligent, and you have to be real with yourself. Don't be that guy who says you do leg day and you don't squat, So make sure that your shoulder is down and back. What happens is you have that nice eccentric motion, and then it instantly has to go into that concentric motion. So your rotator cuffs, cuff muscles turn on in a coordinated fashion. Sorry. But let's see. I was going to go ahead and show you another progression. Once you start getting comfortable with that, you'll start to move into, you can do all types of angles, but you gotta make sure that you're externally rotating and not doing different muscles by doing this, which is also sometimes an exercise that is prescribed. But one that helped me out too is having this weird angle here and making sure you internally rotate and then catch it, externally rotate. So like I said, it's a coordination issue. Then you start to get into a more disadvantageous position, having your shoulder abducted and externally rotated, and dropping the ball just like that. I like to do that prone, just so you don't cheat, or face down, just so you don't cheat. And I think that's it. If you have any questions, definitely post any comments below. Alright, so this is the first day of Sheiko. I tried Sheiko number 29, which is kind of the beginner one, but you know, I want to start off nice and slow. I don't want to try to think I'm at advanced or anything like that. So I just went with simple kind of beginner 29. Trying to leave my ego at the door. So this one, it calls for benching 215, 5 sets of 3. I'm actually gonna, I think I recorded the whole thing through. Since I knew you guys were watching, I kind of actually hurried up, and my rest periods were pretty low. So I like to record my stuff to make sure right after a set, record it in my journals that I keep. Just because sometimes when I go all the way through and just keep going, I tend to forget how many I did. So I'm not only bad at counting reps, sometimes I'm bad at counting sets. So at this point, it feels pretty easy. You know, I've benched 225 for 5 times 5, and even more, a little bit more than that. So right now it feels pretty easy, which is great because I know later on it's going to get a little harder. Kind of looking forward to doing Sheiko. Hopefully I will progress and not stall out like I did 2 months ago. I'm kind of bummed that now that I went off of 531, Jim Wendler comes out with a Beyond 531, which kind of addresses the problems that I had, which was less volume, and he has things like Joker sets. If you haven't read Jim Wendler's book Beyond 531, I suggest you read it. It's pretty, Jim Wendler he's the man. He talks about Joker sets and all that. I probably will get back into it after I try out a couple of programs that I have never tried before. Like I said, 531 was basically my bread and butter. So I am hitting the last set of the first exercise of Sheiko number 29. And it's funny because I don't know where they get the number 29 from. I asked around. If anyone knows, let me know. But for some reason, number 29 is kind of random. Why didn't they start off with like 1 or something? Then it goes straight into, there's a couple other ones, 29, 30, and 32 or something like that. It's really kind of weird, but hey, if the Russians are doing it, why not? And this is the first squat session of Sheiko. This calls for me to do 5 sets of 5 of 270, and 270 is pretty light for me just because I have done 5 times 5 with 315, but maybe it's just kind of the calm before the storm. So it feels pretty light. Maybe I should have concentrated on going lower just because, like I said, it feels pretty good. Try to explode. So this is the last set of the 5 times 5. I didn't bother commentating too much on the sets in between. Just see a kind of before and after, how tired I'm getting. So I do a little big air right before I lift. A lot of coaches say to lift the bar, unrack it like it's really light. So I kind of, pretend like it's lightweight, which at this point kind of feels like it. They always say lift light weights like they're heavy and heavy weights like they're light. And what they mean by that is when you're warming up, you want to make sure your form is really spot on and trying to explode through, because you have to imagine it's heavy. So when it actually is heavy, then you just kind of don't think about it and you just lift it like it's light. So that is one thing I try to keep in my mind is lift light weights like they're heavy and heavy weights like they're light. So this is the last of the big compound movements in day number 1, and this set actually calls for me to rep out 4 times of 200. So I'm actually going to do 4 sets of 4 reps with 200 pounds. And again, it feels pretty light, and I do like how you come back to benching right after it. So it kind of works your weakness twice. At least that's my weakness. Benching is my worst lift. And I actually incorporated this before in one of my 531s before. And I can't remember where I read it from. It was called they gave it some fancy word like doubles or something like that, where you work your weakness twice. So you do it in the beginning of your workout and you do it at the end of your workout. And I had some success with it, but now it's actually in one of my programs, not just, it's actually written down rather than me just thinking it's a good idea. So kind of kudos to me to adding that when it just feels like it's the right thing to do sometimes. Gotta hit that weakness twice. So I'm taking 30 minute. That's a lot of break time for in between sets. I'm taking 30-second rests here. Just because I know this is pretty easy for me, and I know you guys are watching. So that's kind of great about recording all your workouts for people to watch, because it kind of pushes you to not be lazy. Because sometimes I just like to lift things up and put them down, but I'm a one-trick pony. I do it one time. Once you start going into the energy system and start doing multiple reps, that's when I start to have a little downfall and start to get a little tired. So my bench press, my whole rack there is a little weird, just because I wish I had better kind of J-hooks. The things that I place down, I have to roll the bar forward, and then not too much, because if I go too much, then I catch on to the top. I catch that little edge there, and it lifts up, and then it can actually drop down. So when I put the bar back, it won't be in the right place, and I'll get uneven bar. So it's time for me to invest into a rack, but I am trying to save up for one that's going to cost $1,000 or more from Elite FTS. And the 2 things that I do like about my rack there is that it does have little safety catches on the bottom of the bench press, just in case I try to go for a PR or anything like that. I can put it down, and actually it's a little risky because I have to place it down right at my neck area. Thank you guys for watching. Like and subscribe to my channel. And when you subscribe to my channel, you are definitely getting a lifetime subscription of videos, because I will be doing this pretty much for the long haul. If you have any questions or comments below, definitely I will try to answer them in the comment box there. I try to reply to all my comments, and of course I'm not going to claim to be an expert, but I am surrounded by experts where I work at, and hopefully it's like osmosis. I'm surrounded by such great experts that some will rub off, and I'll try to do what I can to answer your questions. Thank you.